We'd like to thank everyone for coming today. I apologize if I break into song and dance with the microphone. We are Giftique, and we translate your relationships into gifts crafted with love. We are Ben, Jepna, and Maddox. We'd be happy to tell you more about ourselves after today's presentations. If you remember Robbie and Caroline from last quarter, you'll remember how thrilled Caroline was to receive the vintage milkshake maker Robbie purchased for her for Valentine's Day using Giftique. Unfortunately, it wasn't always so easy for Robbie. Before, he spent countless hours of stress searching for the perfect gift for Caroline, often disappointing her with a gift that lacked personal significance or she just didn't like. Now the two are both graduating law school, and it's Caroline who wants to purchase a gift for Robbie to celebrate this wonderful experience and the relationship that blossomed in law school. So what does she do? She heads down to Michigan Avenue and searches through Bloomingdale's, Banana Republic, J. Crew, Brooks Brothers, and other men's stores to find a gift that commemorates this momentous occasion. Unimpressed with the gifts, she returns home, Amazon, other destinations, where she also cruises 1,000 products, spends countless hours, and still not a gift that represents this wonderful occasion. Exhausted, she gives up.
Remembering the wonderful Valentine's Day experience that Giftique created last quarter, Caroline decides to try out Giftique and logs into the site. So let's see what she finds. So Giftique engages users through a question and answer dialogue about their relationship with the gift recipient. So here you can see that Caroline is answering questions about where she traveled to with Robbie, their experience in law school together, and their favorite food and drink. So based on the user's answers, Giftique generates personalized gift results via Etsy's API. So Caroline sees the results populate on the right. She can change how she chooses to view these products by number of views, price, etc. She scrolls through the products, views some of them, and she settles on these guilty or not guilty cufflinks, perfect for law school graduation. So of the $153 billion spent on gifts last year, $23 billion of these dollars was spent online. And since we require Facebook to log into Giftique, we estimate that if each user in our target segment spends $100 on gifts each year, which is a very conservative estimate, our market becomes $10 billion. Again, very conservative estimate. But let's go back to the original problem, which is what? Finding a great gift. So of the $153 billion spent, $49 billion of those dollars was returned. That's a 33% failure rate. And let's keep in mind, this doesn't include the gifts that recipients wanted to return but didn't in fear of hurting their loved ones. So let's take a look at some of our competitors and how they're tackling this problem. So many of our competitors are actually still focused on gifts traditionally given through gift cards, such as coffee, food, snacks, beer, etc. These are nice gifts, but they're stocking stuffers. They're not really gifts that represent or demonstrate your relationship narrative. So some gift card alternatives like Giftly or Wrap, they've achieved some level of scale, but they focus on just because, quote unquote, just because occasions, not very targeted occasions. Giftique, on the other hand, we deliver personalized and higher quality gifts from unique e-commerce sites, and our gifts are slightly more expensive, and our customers usually use our product for specific or very important gifting occasions. So when we originally launched, we were targeting men at first because through our customer development, we learned that men felt the most pain around gift giving, and they also suffered from a loss of inspiration. Women, on the other hand, were very good at gift giving, and they found Giftique as a substitute for being thoughtful rather than facilitating inspiration. But when we launched, we found that we were able to attract a lot of females. Currently, a third of our registered user base are females, and our first sale was made by a female. And through customer feedback, we found that this was because women found our user quiz, very fun, very entertaining for them. So now, men use Giftique as a gifter's block, utility tool, and women use it as entertainment. As such, we are now positioned to find gifts, deliver gifts for both genders.
We launched Giftique on May 24th. Since then, we've had 1,000 unique visitors. We've had 200 registered users. We've attracted 600 Facebook fans and have generated 3 sales and counting. We use Facebook as our primary acquisition method. We use Facebook sponsored posts, Giftique promoted posts, and also Giftique ads, as well as an iPad giveaway for registered users. Each of these methods of acquisition engaged our users in different ways. The Facebook sponsored posts attracted likes, so we have an open direct channel to these people's news feeds when the gifting occasion arrives. Our Giftique promoted post showed products that we showcased that some of our users had purchased, and was a way for fans to kind of engage with us on a consistent basis. And then Facebook ads were pretty abysmal. They didn't really attract much engagement. The iPad giveaway was a great way to generate a lot of hype for the site. So we gave an iPad away, value $300 to registered users. We were able to attract about 175 through this, which comes at about $1.50 per registered user. In our previous alpha experiment, we converted about 10% of the people who use Giftique through sales. So we're looking at about $15 per paying customer. We've yet to establish a sustainable business model, sustainable revenue model. Most of our competitors are using affiliate models, and those are obviously effective only at scale. So currently, we are still iterating on product market fit to kind of enhance the user experience. We've done a decent job at conversion once we get people to the sites engaging, but I think we need to focus more at the top of the conversion funnel to build awareness for Giftique and how this differs from the competition. Once we do achieve some sort of scale, we plan to implement some sort of an affiliate model, and we'll also use Giftique as a platform for product ads where merchants can showcase some of their gifts or some of their products. The next steps for us are enhancing our product. So we'd like to expand to different e-commerce APIs. Gilt, Amazon, Store Envy, Etsy, Jetsetter are among ones that we're targeting. And we like to expand from products to more experience type of gifts so that we can kind of serve different gifting occasions effectively. We also plan to enhance our algorithm to make irrelevant gifts kind of not show up as frequently, and then synthesize user feedback. So similar to a Pandora, thumbs up, thumbs down, and then the ability to store important information like experiences, preferences, and also important dates for users. We're now looking for advice to improve our customer acquisition strategy and the Giftique user experience. Thanks today.
Thank you for coming today. I am Adrienne Nolan. This is Brian Ambielli, and this is Shantanu Jani, and we are Team Wellbe. We are an online information hub for natural and integrative healthcare solutions and online community. So before we get into the problem that we're trying to solve and why we're trying to solve it, and how we're trying to solve it rather, let me tell you a little bit about why we're trying to solve it. So in 2005, my mother was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which is a combination of bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. She was very immediately put on a very heavy cocktail of pharmaceutical drugs, the first of which was to solve one symptom, but had such serious side effects that ended up causing her to take another drug and another drug and another drug. She ended up on a cocktail of about 5 or 6 pharmaceutical drugs with side effects that left her essentially sort of a zombie or a vegetable. So after a few years of this therapy, I decided this wasn't really a solution, but more of a Band-Aid. So I went to her very esteemed doctor at McLean Hospital in Boston and said, what else can we try? This is not actually a solution, tell me whatever else, I'll do it. And she said, frankly, doctors today, we don't have time or expertise or experience understanding any of the other integrative or alternative solutions out there. So you're welcome to go online and do your own research and come back to me, but that's about as much as I can do for you. So that's exactly what I did. It was an extremely frustrating process, laborious search on Google and blog posts and posting on forums and finding articles. And even when I found something that I thought was promising, there was nobody behind it to connect with that had tried it, and there was also no doctor connected to some research that might have been outdated or center that I could get in touch with. And most of all, there wasn't someone kind of behind the whole thing that had my interest in solving the problem in mind as well. So I thought, this is pretty bad. I ended up sort of having to give up on that search completely. And there must be other people who had this problem as well. And it turns out that there is. Alternative healthcare is really not that alternative. So a couple of the most recent numbers that we have include about 89 million Americans use complementary and alternative medicine, or CAM, in 2011, making 835 million CAM-related purchases. Sort of healthcare providers and the US government has caught on to this trend and change in consumer behavior, as you can see with the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine's annual budget went from essentially nothing in 1990 to over 140 million in 2007, and it's continuing to grow. This is also reflected in the Obamacare bill going into effect next year, which will have to cover integrative practitioners, which will make insurance companies cover integrative practitioners, as well as putting integrative practitioners on their medical teams in government facilities around the country. Of that 835 million in purchases, an example is $27 billion were spent on just supplements in 2009. So how we started to tackle this problem in the winter quarter was through a concierge service of providing curated content packages to people that signed up for our service. So we were pretty happy with the results. We had 50 people sign up, 60 of which were willing to pay at least $5 for this content package, which we delivered to them in a few days. But we realized it was a completely unscalable model. So we pivoted to something that put it more into the user's hand, and we were also responded to two major requests from our users when we spoke to them afterward, which were, one, to have more of a hand-holding experience, to let them have a follow-on action after they got the information, and the second of which was much more community involvement. So they wanted recommendations, they wanted somebody else to discuss their experience with. And so we launched in May our second beta, which Brian will now demonstrate.
So I'm Brian, and I'm a chronic migraine sufferer. So I've seen some of the best professionals, headache doctors that my money can afford, and I'm on a cocktail of prescription drugs like Imitrex, Maxalt, ibuprofen. Literally nothing has worked. So I'm going to Wellbe to find some alternative and non-pharmaceutical related therapies for my migraines, as well as some causes, potential causes as well. So I'm going to log into Wellbe. I'm going to go to our custom search tool, which searches a subset of natural and alternative focused sites, so I know that all of the results coming back are natural focused. I'm going to go to look through the results and find one that I kind of like, pull it up, and I can read the article directly inside of the Wellbe browser, inside of the Wellbe site, and see if it's useful or not for me, and I can bookmark it for later if I'd like, do all that research and curate kind of my own subset of articles for myself. Also upvoting and downvoting it based on whether or not this was helpful for me, give that information back to the Wellbe community. So that's kind of me doing the research myself, but I also want to find, some firsthand accounts from other Wellbe users. What are other people doing for their migraines that is helpful to them, and can I use that for myself? Well, there are two ways that we can do that on Wellbe right now. We have a question forum open that's pretty active right now, where I can look for migraine-related questions or pose my own and hope that the Wellbe community can come back to me and get me some advice. Or I can go to the Health Stories page, which is really neat, which is a section of the site where users can come and write down their personal accounts of their own experiences with these conditions and tag those articles as well, so I know that this one is about migraines and I can find that really easily. So for this story, for example, this user had a dad who was suffering from migraines for 20 plus years, was on a cocktail of drugs just like me, and found that once he went off the drugs, that actually the source of these migraines was a pinched nerve in the back of his neck. And this is something I never really even thought about, and that after he got off of those drugs with some lifestyle and food changes, that he went from several headaches a week to just once a month. And that's just awesome news for me. Maybe I'll go back to the search tool, search for pinched nerves and how those interact with migraines as well. Now, obviously, these health stories in the question forums would be great if we had a really active community behind it to support it. So for the last 4 weeks since launch, we've been focused on that user acquisition and trying to drive that community up and grow that community so that these features of our site can be really useful to our users.
Great, thanks, Brian. So because we've been focused on user acquisition more than anything else in the last 4 weeks, we've tried a couple of different things. This includes Google AdWords, Facebook ads, organizational sort of nonprofit outreach, and even just the tech PR that everybody got in Forbes. And the most successful sort of three-prong attack that we've seen was from the social, both like organically posting on Facebook and Facebook ads, was this organizational outreach through the National Headache Foundation, which was also quite effective, and even just the Forbes article had a 6% conversion rate on our site. So we had 790 site visits, 101 registrations, about a 12.5% conversion rate, which we were pretty happy about, and that three-prong attack will continue for us. So that this user growth strategy has really affected our revenue model. We're trying to understand there's so many different models that a lot of the digital health companies are using today, everything from affiliate and referral marketing to lead generation to advertising to subscription to sort of a really high touch experience person to user. And so right now, though, based on what we've seen from our competition and this user generation strategy, we're basically having to focus on advertising. But we know that that's a huge cost up front with a very long-term model, about 10 years for WebMD and Everyday Health to become profitable or even break even. So we don't see this as a completely long-term sustainable model, but it's certainly the one that makes sense for us right now. And we'll have to make a decision about whether we want to incorporate some higher touch sort of wellness coaching for some premium members who with a higher willingness to pay, or perhaps integrate more of like those concierge type services through a subscription model. But for now, it's certainly an advertising revenue model. So I just touched on WebMD and Everyday Health as some of our competitors, but we see a couple of different buckets in the digital health space as our competitive landscape. The first of which is Google. It's obviously the biggest competitor and the strongest, but it's also the least lacking in community interaction and curated and filtered information. The next sort of bucket is a digital media play. Everyday Health, WebMD, Greatest. They're all they have small communities that have condition-based and rather than type of medicine-based setup, as well as no experts on integrative therapies and much more focused on traditional medicine. On the alternative space, AltMD and NutraSpace have a terrible user experience and no real meaningful activities on their site. It's basically just articles. And then in the community space, the Alliance Health Networks has been the most successful. But again, these are condition-based communities, which if you look at, as we've done a lot of research on integrative medicine, a lot of times people have a condition that they don't even know about or a symptom that's a different condition that they think they have. And the more holistic approach to medicine allows for the different therapies to sort of figure these things out. Siloing into them to the conditions doesn't exactly allow for that. So this is our WellBe team. We are happy to tell you about this afterward. Our ask for now is just introductions to people passionate about the wellness and alternative medicine space for mentorship, advisory, and advocacy. Also people in related organizations and nonprofits, since that's a big part of our user generation, as well as media outlets interested in our mission for the same reason, as well as angel investors interested in this space in particular. So lastly, we understand that the broken American healthcare system is a really complex problem to solve with many different components. But we know that integrative medicine is sort of the direction that healthcare is going in now. And as that change takes place, we believe that WellBe can be the resource for people online to find this information and the social interaction that they value to actually get better in a more natural way. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Colin Hoover. This is John Cook and Con Lee. Our development team is Steve Olakowski and Matt Shoby. And we are Blinkfire Analytics. We are social media analytics specifically designed for sports teams. As you well know, sports fans are extremely tribal communities. Social media has given them a new access to the teams they love and the communities around them. And this has created a new environment for the sports media landscape. It used to be that sports teams played the game, the media conglomerates shared that information in a one-directional flow, to the fan. That environment today is extremely different. With the rise of social media, there has created an entirely different ecosystem whereby content is shared on a two-way street, directly between the fan and the teams that they care about. This has created a huge opportunity for advertisers to connect with the fans directly. However, it has also had an unintended consequence, in a way, of turning these teams into media companies themselves, whereby they are essentially media publishers and having to publish through the social platforms to connect and engage with their fans. The problem with this is that most of the people in these leagues do not come from a publishing background or social media background. They are from the sports world, and so they need something to help them do this. Enter Blinkfire Analytics, which is positioned nicely between the publisher of content and the consumers of content, and allows the social media manager to effectively manage all of his social data and content. This is a new industry. I mean, social media is still in its nascent states, and teams need a very sports-specific solution to help them understand all of this stuff in a way that speaks their language. They need to know the fans that are most influential in the social space. They need to understand what kind of content is going to engage those fans and bring them onto the team, bring them to the sites, and bring them to the social media, to their social media sites. And they need to know how to measure the ROI of each of their campaigns. Since we launched a few weeks ago, we have 6 teams currently using our software, and being able to engage with these teams and talk to their social media managers, we've gotten some really great insights about how they use our software. They've told us that they log on, it saves them time by automating processes that used to be manual. It allows them to quickly and easily share content across platforms. And our daily email report is a bunch of really high-level information that comes to them automatically and effectively makes them look like the smartest social media guy in the room. Before Blinkfire Analytics, this is what a typical social media report would have looked like. It was automated, it takes hours to do, it's in Excel, it's ugly, it's mundane. Today, if you're the social media manager of, say, Giants or whatever team, you get an automatic Blinkfire Analytics daily email, which is very elegant and has all of your most relevant statistics, so posts that were retweeted or the most engaging content, media that's being circulated through Instagram, for instance, and your most valuable followers. Who are your followers who are sharing your content, who are actually sharing it with lots of people within the social media ecosystem? I'll let Doug Meffley, the social media director, tell you guys a little bit about how he uses our software.
Doug Meffley, I'm Director of Digital and Social Communications at Northwestern Athletics. Here to just briefly talk about how I use the Blinkfire Analytics daily email that I get every morning. It's always waiting for me, so the first thing I do is I log into it, and I'll scroll through the top part, the golden post, pretty quickly. It just gives me a nice snapshot of what the big activity has been as far as Northwestern talk the previous day. But then I really enjoy this media snapshot with the Instagram photos. And, I'll actively go through this. I always click through. It takes me into my Blinkfire tool. So I'll click through, and then it enables me to interact with the photos right just from my morning email. So for example, this is one of my favorites that a fan Instagrammed our schedule card. So I logged in, I liked it to interact with them. It gives us a quick and easy ability to do that. But then I'm also able to share it just right from the tool, and I can share it from our Twitter account, just like that. So it's really a direct and easy way for me to interact and share content that's fan generated, and let them know that us as an entity are listening to what they're doing on social.
So another way that teams might engage with fans, let's say I'm a digital director for the San Francisco Giants, and I want to come up with a quick and easy campaign whereby I'm going to engage with some of my closest fans. I may decide I'm going to do at tonight's game a photo sharing competition via Instagram. So you go to the game tonight, you take a photo, you share it, and you hashtag it at Giants competition, and if you win, we will repost that and send you a link for free tickets to the next game. So if I'm going to do that without Blinkfire Analytics, it's going to be extremely cumbersome, and it's going to take a lot of man hours. But with Blinkfire, I log on to my site. I go to my most valuable followers. I can see the kind of people who I might want to engage. So for instance, Peter Olson. has the highest level of influence as gauged by us, which is based on his followers, tweets, favorites, and number of times he's listed. And so I have a good idea of people I might want to direct this campaign at who will share it with other people. So I can go to Twitter, send out this campaign that says, you post your favorite picture, tonight's game. The next day, I can come to my Stadium Watch function and see where people actually posted. So this is actually a look of AT&T Park in San Francisco. I can see where content was posted. And this is all real-time data from Twitter's API. So if I come down to my Instagram feed, I can see the pictures that were taken at last night's game. I can quickly and easily say, okay, this is great. I like this picture of the kids. I can type in here, you know, winner. And I can quickly retweet that. And that goes directly to my Twitter feed. If I want to do a kind of a post-mortem and check out how effective this campaign was, the next day I can come in, log on to what we call our social timeline, which measures all your content and shows you how effective it was. So here I can see, say maybe that was on June 5th, I can see that there was a large inflection where I increased my Twitter followers on that day by 337. And so that gives me a good idea of how effective that campaign was. I will let John talk to you a little bit about the business model now.
Okay, so where's the direction and vision that we want to take Blinkfire? So via our research and in talking to these different teams, social media advertising in this arena is still in its early stages. And the feedback that we got from the teams was that currently right now they're looking to build out their audience and drive engagement and then monetization. So that's how we're going to build Blinkfire as well. As Colin has already demonstrated to you, we are building the tools to help teams build these initial relationships and drive engagement. Phase 2 in this build out will be to become an integral part of the team's marketing department to help them optimize their digital and social advertising, as well as provide them social or publishing tools for them to value their advertising when that time comes. And the third phase is for us to become the double click of sports media. Our goal is to help teams be the first team or be the first company to help sports franchises effectively value and sell their advertising in an automated way on a digital network. Market growth. So when we were looking, if this, the size of this market, and if we could bring this into a scalable business, we did as much research as we could on the publicly available data. And one of the teams that really stood out that was ahead of most was Manchester United. And they currently break down their revenue into match day, media, and commercial. And commercial encompasses the majority of their social and digital revenue. And according to a JP Morgan equity report, those commercial revenues has doubled from 2007 to 2010, and they expect it to double again by 2015. This is the key area where these teams are going to be able to grow their revenue. Their ticket sales are pretty much capped by the size of their stadiums, and we feel this is the area that they will grow their revenue, and we're going to participate that, and this is where we think things will go. Once again, just another piece of our research into how big this market is. Right now, BIA Kelsey has said social ad revenues is at 4.7. In their research report, they expect it to grow to 11 billion by 2017. Where does Blinkfire sit in the competitive landscape? Well, right now you have Sprout Social, Hootsuite. They're down in the real-time sentiment dashboard, and they're focused on consumer brands. You have Radiant6, Adobe Social. They're focused on the higher-level analytics and also helping consumer brands. Blinkfire, we're sports-specific and we're analytics-focused, and we're going to help teams develop publisher tools to monetize their social advertising. So our next steps. Right now, we're continuing our customer acquisition. We're trying to onboard as many teams as possible. That's one of our main goals. 2, we're continuing to refining and iterating our software to provide the best analytics and publisher tools available to these teams. And 3rd, right now, we're working on our building our infrastructure to develop our data aggregation so we can pull this all together and provide very targeted and segmented compositions of a team's audience when advertisers come and look to buy media from them. We are Blinkfire Analytics. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Team Chisel, and we made an iPad note-taking app. I'd like to first introduce you to our team. My name is Alex. I'm the tech guru on Team Chisel. We have Amrit, who's our finance whiz, Samantha, who's our experience architect, and as you can see over here, Weston, who's joining us via FaceTime, who is our biz guy. And as I said, we are Team Chisel, and we made an iPad app that could be the only note-taking app you will ever need. We actually didn't come up with those words. Actually, App Advice, the first day we were on the App Store, wrote this awesome article about us. Completely organically, they discovered us, and it's been really cool that they actually talked about us. So they definitely understand our product, but we want to explain to you really the benefit of Chisel. So looking at the note-taking landscape today, you'll see if you search note-taking in the App Store, it'll come up with over 159 results, quite a crowded area. On the left-hand side, you'll see some of those popular note-taking apps that are on the iPad App Store right now. And if you really break down these apps in terms of what they offer, you can break them down into their three basic functionalities. And we, during our time here in the Invention Web class, interviewed tons of students here at Northwestern and really focused, kind of in their interviews, they focused on three basic areas that they would need in an iPad note-taking app. And those were drawing, typing, and document annotation. You can see that the apps kind of they're good at some areas, good at sometimes two, but there really are no apps that make all three, both typing, drawing, and document annotation, really seamless and fast. And that's really what Chisel is all about, really integrating all three of those together and in a fast and intuitive way. So enough of me talking, I'm going to actually show you what Chisel is all about. Would you mind holding this for me? Okay, so sorry, this is not expected. Okay, so what I'm going to show is this is a PDF slide. One of the really powerful ways that you can use Chisel is actually using it in a classroom or lecture setting. So I'm going to actually import this PDF into Chisel and then take notes on it. So this is actually the class that we had, the last lecture we had with Invention Web on this final presentation. So I was actually using this during the class. So there's a PDF. I'm going to open it in Chisel. I'm going to add it to my Invention Web notes. And you can see on the right-hand side is the entire PDF slide deck, and on the left-hand side is my way to make notes. So I'm going to go through the slide as we're kind of lecturing through class. I want to highlight these, the time and date of the lecture, of this pitch, because it's very important for me. As we keep going on through, and I'm going to need you to hold this because I need two hands to use this, we're talking about opportunity and the value prop of Chisel. So I'm going to write here because I'm thinking kind of ahead, how can I remember this later when I'm actually making the pitch with my team. I'm going to type in here key features, and I want to make that actually, the diagram I just showed you, that kind of 3 Venn diagram, I want to remember that. So I'm going to actually make that note in Chisel right now. So I'm going to type in diagram width, and then list those typing, drawing, annotating, because those are kind of the three key features. So you can easily indent your bullets. I'm going to do typing, drawing, and annotating. Cool. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this button that I'm wiggling around up here and actually drag it over to the diagram width bullet. And what it's going to do is actually associate a drawing with that bullet. And on this drawing, I'm going to draw that exact diagram that I had before in the previous slide. So I'm going to draw those 3 circles. And then again, I want to highlight that Chisel kind of solves that problem with all 3. So I'm going to slide to full screen mode to really capture the detail and really highlight that center area. So cool, went through the entire class, captured all my notes. Now I'm going to share it with my team. Weston isn't here, so I'm actually going to send it to him via email in a PDF form. So send it to myself just so I can actually view it in this presentation, and also send it to Weston as well. Weston, I hope you receive in a few seconds. Cool, so there it goes, it's off. So I'm going to go into my mail application, and as it loads, hopefully Weston's not taking up all the internet here. So anyway, here it is. I'm going to open it as a PDF. So PDFs are great because they're cross-platform, cross-devices. And here you go. Here you can see the notes. You can see the highlighting is there. And if you scroll all the way down to those notes I made, you can see it's all right there, really easy to access between devices and really share with your friends. I think the coolest thing that Chisel offers is you can actually make this PDF an editable note back in Chisel. So I'm just going to do that really quickly because I think it's a really cool feature. Open it up back in Chisel and actually open it in the demo notes folder, a completely different file, and it's going to quickly load in, again showing you exactly what I typed before, again making it editable, which I think really makes Chisel a very powerful platform for, again, taking notes in a fast, quick way. So we launched in the App Store on May 19th, and since then we have actually gotten over 1,700 downloads, which is really, really exciting for us. And actually, the first review that we got was not in the United States App Store, but actually in the Italian App Store, which was super cool for us. I did take Italian in high school, so I will translate it for you. You can write and apply freehand drawing, but what you need to do is useful and intuitive advice. Give us 4 stars, and again, a user who didn't know anything about Chisel found it and really understood it, and again, kind of made their iPad note-taking experience a lot more useful. And since we have experienced that large user growth through blogs, we actually have reached out to additional blogs. And we do expect to have reviews on AppStorm, as well as an article in TechNori in the upcoming months, which we're super excited to hear about. So we've talked a lot about Chisel, the product area. Now I'm going to pass it off to Amrit, who's going to talk about how we can make Chisel into a business. Amrit?
Thanks, Alex. And like he showed you, we have a really sleek, intuitive product. Users love it. And so this is how we plan to monetize it. So again, looking back at our competitors, the distribution shows that most of the apps in the App Store are free. But if you look at the competitors and what they offer, they're actually at much higher prices because customers really are willing to pay for features that would benefit their productivity. Especially if you look at a competitor like Evernote, which is $5 a month, a subscription for premium. There's actually a much higher price point that actually influence how we plan to price our app as well. So if you look at us, we're trying to take advantage of the freemium model as well. If you go to the App Store, you can download it for free, try it out. There are 4 notebooks, which is roughly the equivalent of a semester or a quarter's worth of classes. Or there's the in-app subscription model at $10 a year, which is significantly lower than Evernote, which we think will help growth in the short term. Right now on the App Store, it's actually a $10 in-app one-time purchase, which we just use for testing purposes to see if users were actually willing to pay initially. And it actually only has this first bullet, unlimited notebooks. And we've actually received 21 in-app downloads of just that feature. And so we think adding more features will definitely incite more customers to switch over. And also by reaching out to some of the customers that have downloaded our app and paid for it, they've also reflected that the fact to sync and with some online file management systems is really important. So looking at our new and returning users, we're actually getting about 100 users returning, continuing to use our app and generating feedback and metrics every single day. And that yields us about a conversion rate of 1.25%. Over here on the right, our projected revenues. The main thing that comes out of this is that we're assuming that we keep a subscribed user for about 1.5 years, which kind of goes along with some of Evernote statistics that we've been able to realize, and also talking to some people in the industry. We think that's about the average user retention time. And so how do we plan to realize this opportunity? Well, the first place that we want to go is towards students, because students will allow us to build a user base, organic, and some virality. And so the way that we want to do that is through a partnership with Study.net. Study.net is a content provider, and they've agreed to feature Chisel as their recommended note-taking app. And this is huge because it actually gives us access to over 100 universities nationwide, where we'll be able to access that student market and, again, build that virality that's really important for our app. And so going to students, after we build up our students, we plan on going over to enterprise and getting on business users, and then eventually getting over to everyone else, which is the tablet market is growing by about 50 million devices a year. And by not only adding iOS support, but also Android support and a web version for any other internet-connected devices, we think that we have a real shot at achieving a much larger market share. So again, we are Team Chisel. We're actually planning on working on this consistently throughout the summer. We're going to be meeting regularly, even via Skype if we have to, like Weston, or in person, and actually with a much larger push towards the end of August and beginning of September, right at the beginning of when classes would start. We have some money from placing at the Northwestern Venture Competition, and we're probably going to bootstrap the rest as much as we can. But we think that the fall launch is really important. And that's why we really need your advice and support to help us make sure that our fall launch is as powerful as possible. And from hearing from some customers and from seeing what we've accomplished so far, we're really excited to change the world of note-taking. And we wanted to thank you for your time and for listening to our story.
So we're Hamlock, the next generation bike lock. I'm Zaina, and this is my team. We've got Patrick, Shakir, Yopa, and AK, and we have one more team member who couldn't be here today, Mengwan. So we thought we'd kick things off with a trip down memory lane. So we just wanted to show you exactly how far we've come over the last year. So it wasn't even a year ago that a friend of ours actually had his bike stolen right here on Northwestern's campus. And that got us to thinking about bike locks. And the more we learned, the more we realized they hadn't really changed much in the last 40 years. And there was lots of room for improvement. So we came up with a few ideas, and we pitched one in the incinerator competition in October. And that got us into Enuvention Web. And we're actually the first hardware product in the class, which I think has been a big learning experience for everybody. And since then, we spent most of the winter quarter building our app and the lock itself, which you'll get a demo of later. And then we competed in Kellogg's Shark Tank competition at the tech conference. We came in second place there. We filed a provisional patent application, and we recently launched an Indiegogo campaign. So it has been a very busy year for us. So we're going to walk you through this in more detail, and since not all of you were here in March, we're also going to walk you through our value proposition again. So as part of this class, we're asked to get out of the building and talk to folks. And so let me ask you a question. Who here has ever lost their keys? House keys, car keys, lots of folks. So it sucks, right? So imagine for a second that you're a bike commuter, and your bicycle is your primary means of transportation. If you lose or break your bike lock key, there's no way that you're going to get to where you need to be. So there has to be a better way. And you would never buy a car these days without keyless access. And if you've ever worked in an office building downtown, I guarantee you probably don't have keys to your building. You typically get a shiny little key card to let you in. So in a world where using keys has become so archaic, how is it that keyless access has not made it to the simplest mode of transportation, the bicycle? Well, we couldn't think of a good reason why not, and that's why we came up with Hamlock, a keyless bike lock that you can control with your cell phone. The app lets you do more than just lock and unlock your bike. You can also track where you last parked it on a map, and you can find the safest spot to park your bike. The possibilities with the app are endless. But you can't talk about a bike lock without talking about security. And with over 1 million bicycles stolen every year, security is really important. And most traditional U-locks that you see here have a single locking pin, which means a thief just has to make one cut and the whole lock falls apart. So we've taken our design one step further, adding a second locking pin. So we've effectively doubled the amount of time it takes a thief to cut through your bike lock. So without any further ado, let's see a demo. Can you?
Yeah. All right, guys. So this is what we've got right now. This is, well, we've actually got two things. I'm just going to talk loudly because I need both my hands. So we've got two things for you today. The first is Oh, okay. First thing we've got here is another 3D print. Last quarter, you saw a 3D printed prototype that was a previous iteration of our model. So this is a better design in pretty much every respect you can think of. And then this is a sort of a proof of concept to show proof of our CNC machining programs that we developed to actually put this into a production capacity. So what you've got here is you've got interior cavities molded, and then it's also been cut away a little bit so you can see from the outside sort of how it puts together. So yeah, Shakir, do you want to
just go for it? So the way this works is simply by Bluetooth. This iPad is now connected to our lock, and click on this button, and it opens. And then when we close it back up, it also shows where you locked your bike, and also, this is one of my favorite things, is it shows where bikes have been stolen around the area. And this is like real data that we have. We're getting data from the one of the Chicago bike registries. And they've like been very, very gracious with like giving us all sorts of data of like where bikes have been stolen and when they've been stolen and things like that. And they're also constantly updating this, so we can also get even more recent data. This is obviously a little old. And say, you know, our lock isn't as cool as we thought, we could also post to like Twitter or Facebook about like whatever happened to your bike and such. And then there's also ways to log in like what kind of bike you have in a photo, and in the future you'd be able to post like all this information, and when if your bike does get stolen, users would be able to update to our servers and probably Chicago bike registries too, and whatever local bike registries we've are working with to their databases. So kind of like helping out the biking community as a whole and such. And I think that's about it, right? Oh, right. The other thing that we're going to work on as well is that right now these are just like little pins that, you know, I think this is like important information, but doesn't tell a lot. In the future, what we're going to be working on is like a heat map, essentially. So, you'd be blocking, you wouldn't see all these individual pins. You'd probably block this out into like, say, red zone because there are a lot of bikes stolen here, and like maybe a blue or like even blank over here. And obviously things would be taken into account, like how long ago it was stolen, where it was stolen, frequency, and things like that. That way, when the user walks into a certain area, even with their biking, their phone will vibrate once if it's safe. It'll vibrate twice if it's unsafe. So that way, users won't even have to pull out their phone to know if they're, like potentially getting their bike stolen. And yeah, I think that's about it, right?
Okay, so let's talk a bit about market size. How big is this opportunity? So the U.S. bike lock market is only a $50 million opportunity, which isn't that big. But with the amount of diversity on this team, I think we could easily expand internationally to crowded bike cities of the world, like Jopa's hometown of Amsterdam. We also think the logical next step from here would be to expand into other portable security, so like wireless padlocks, locks for outdoor equipment, locks for storage units. And that market is about a $2 billion opportunity. And if we capture just 5% of that, that would be a $100 million opportunity. So let's talk a bit about the numbers. Right now, our manufacturing costs per lock are estimated at about $60. And based off of a survey we did in the winter quarter, we think we could actually charge about $150 per lock. But the great thing about this product is that the more we make, the cheaper it gets. So the margins actually just get better from here. Or our price could come down. So what have we done since the last time we met? Like we said, it's been a very busy year, so we spent a lot of time putting together our patent application, so we filed a provisional patent in May. We've actually spent a lot of time also meeting with a design firm here in Chicago called Minimal to try and make our lock a little bit sexier, so we hope to partner with them in the future. We've redesigned our app and our logo since the last time you saw it. We've also iterated on the hardware quite a bit. We launched an Indiegogo campaign, and we launched a bunch of online marketing efforts with Facebook and Twitter. We've reached over 100,000 people online, and we've been able to raise over $4,000 on Indiegogo. That's with about 20 different contributors. So we've learned a ton from the Indiegogo launch. This was our view of the world prior to the launch, so this is our business model canvas. And after putting Hamlock up on Indiegogo, we were actually able to engage in conversations with many, many cyclists that were outside of our network, so people we didn't know that well, who gave us lots of feedback on the idea. We were able to validate most of our assumptions, but then others, not so much. So overwhelmingly, though, people really thought this was a really good idea. And where we got pushback was they felt like our value proposition didn't address two of their major concerns, or at least didn't address them enough, and that was security and durability. So they wanted to know that they could, leave the lock out in a Chicago winter and it would survive. We also went to Indiegogo as our launch platform because it was a lot more hardware friendly as a crowdfunding platform. But what we didn't realize was that it actually gave us only about 1/6 the audience that Kickstarter would have given us. We targeted the commuter segment, but really what we've seen is that our biggest advocates have been the gadget-loving, tech-savvy folks. So not even commuters in many cases. And then with regards to cost and revenue, we did get a lot of pushback on the price. So the price was too high for most folks. And we've started to explore sourcing parts in China, and that has actually been able to help us get the price down a little bit. So we think we could sell this for under $100 or around $100. So we still need to test some of these. So the next steps from here are to further validate our market segment. So is it really these tech-savvy consumers? To officially partner with Minimal to make our lock a lot prettier. To outsource production to China, and then relaunch our campaign on Kickstarter. So thank you very much, and we'll take questions.
So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming out to hear our pitches. We're Team Podium. My name's Brian, and today I want to tell you a story about a guy named Dave. Now, this is Dave. Dave's 25 years old. He recently started as a salesman at CDW. Now, CDW, for those who don't know, is a Chicago area IT sales and supplying company. So they sell technology to all kinds of businesses. And Dave's on the plane back from Philadelphia right now. and Dave has just had a really, really bad day. Because the reason that Dave was in Philadelphia for the first place was that he was flying out for his first six-figure sales pitch. He was trying to sell $300,000 worth of laptops and printers to a company there, and he couldn't close the sale. And right now, sitting on the plane, Dave is just really frustrated because he doesn't know what else he could have done. He went to all of the training and the workshops that his company provided him with. He practiced in the days leading up to it, got a good night's sleep the night before, stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, and he walked in, and he thought he was going to nail his pitch, and he fell flat on his face. And now, sitting on the plane, going home with no commission, Dave has one question, and that's, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better?
So yeah, Dave lost out here. He lost out on his commission, but who's the biggest loser here? Well, that's the company. And this situation isn't just unique to Dave. This happens almost every day. And so professionals have this big issue that they need to nail these presentations, these high-stakes presentations where either you make the sale or you don't. And so what they need is a cost-effective and convenient way of preparing. Right now, companies are trying to solve this issue by private coaches, but they're quite expensive. They also try coworker feedback, but it's very inconvenient to set up. YouTube is a public space, so they can't use that. And corporate trainings are highly unspecific. Additionally, workshop retention is actually pretty terrible. After 1 month, you basically forget most of what you learned. However, studies have shown that when you continually practice these skills that you learned in these workshops, you actually take away more. So that's why we created Podium. Podium is a way for professionals to continually practice and improve upon their presentation skills in a cost-effective yet convenient manner that ultimately will drive your sales.
So let's see what Laksh is talking about by going back to Dave. So let's say instead of what happened last time, his sales training includes a license to Podium. Now, when he's getting ready for his big pitch in Philly a few days before, Dave might record himself using his webcam and upload it to Podium. Now, at this point, the video is completely private. Only Dave can see it, but he can share it with people whom he trusts and he wants feedback on the presentation from. So he might share it with the guy who ran the sales workshop that he went to a month ago. He might share it with some of the senior salespeople who he went out to lunch with the other day. And all he has to do is put in their names and email addresses, and they'll get an email that looks a lot like this one. And they don't have to sign up for Podium. All they have to do is click on this link, and instantly they'll be taken to a page where they can see Dave's pitch. Now, they can also offer feedback on his pitch, and all of the comments that they type will be automatically time tagged to the current point in the video. So they can give Dave really specific and granular feedback, not only on his delivery skills, but also on the content of his message. Now, he might get advice from the people who ran the workshop, reminding him of some things that he's learned in the past, but he may have since forgotten. He may get perspectives from some of the senior salespeople at his company that he wouldn't otherwise have being a newbie in the industry. Now, when Dave comes back a couple hours later, all this feedback from these people is consolidated in one place, and it's synced up with the video. So as he watches himself speak, he can see what his trusted peers have to say about his pitch. He can scrub through the video, scroll through the comments, and if he clicks on any of the time tags in the comments section down here, it'll jump to that point in the video, so he has some context to know what the commenter was talking about. So all of this feedback came from people located all over the country, and there's no way that Dave could have gotten all of these people in a teleconference, in a WebEx, or GoToMeeting on such short notice. But he was able to get really useful and specific feedback from them in a private, convenient, and actionable way. And now he's got a heap of other improvements he can make to his pitch, so he's ready to go, and he's honed his pitch, and it's razor sharp before he even gets on the plane to Philadelphia.
So you've just seen that Podium can be a great supplement to presentation skills training. We plan to sell Podium to learning and development departments, as well as others that do corporate training, such as private coaches, as well as companies like McLinden. So we want to show you two of the really excited people we've talked to this quarter, and they will tell you how they can use Podium in their companies and how it's really exciting for them.
With Podium, we can reduce cost and travel from a certifiable trainer by assessing skill set over Podium rather than going to each site in person. With this tool, our executive coach doesn't have to be in the city of our executive. They can be anywhere in the United States or in the world for that matter.
I'm actually working on developing communication training for the general consulting staff. The first time I saw Podium, I knew this was something we could use. The fact that it allows you to self-select who gives you feedback, the fact that you could use it flexibly in small groups, I can't imagine that within the next 6 months we wouldn't want to use a technology like this internally.
And so there are a ton of people excited about Podium. These guys aren't necessarily in our target customers, but 3P Speech is a speech training company that caters to high school debate students, and they've just started using Podium to provide paid feedback to students across the country. So in terms of market, we found that sales is the market where Podium has the ability to make the biggest impact. So based on our research, we think there are about 6 million sales professionals in the US. And from talks with L&D heads, $100 per employee per year is a realistic price point. So if Podium helps Dave make just one big sale or a few smaller sales every year, it'll pay for itself quickly. And this comes out to a 600 million market opportunity. So in a greater context, where companies spend $1.9 billion a year on learning management systems and $20 billion a year on sales training, we think that Podium has a realistic, just capturing 10% of our total market is 60 million. So it's definitely realistic there. So in terms of revenue model, we think that sales will be our biggest costs going into the next couple of years, but our other costs like video transcoding and streaming, because we're not streaming to that many users, are relatively small. So with a recurring revenue, we think that Podium is of course profitable.
Right. So that's a pretty exciting opportunity. And we've had a lot of people already using Podium to really improve their presentations. But to make Podium a really successful business, we still have quite a ways to go. So first things first, we've been speaking with a lot of different companies, and they've shown great interest in Podium and getting into their organizations. But unfortunately, as we've learned over the last few months, it takes a really long time to get new products into these companies. So first things first, we need to continue supporting the people who have gone out on a limb to try to get Podium into their organizations and supporting the pilots that they're attempting to do, and actually some of them are starting to do as we speak. Secondly, we need to be very responsive to user needs. We've built this great tool that people are using, but we need to make sure that all the functionality and all the features that they need for them to use it are already in there as soon as they need it. Third, and very importantly, right now Podium is a standalone tool which is very effective, but in order to make sure that it becomes a successful enterprise, we need to make sure it's integrated within the educational curriculum and the professional development experience of all these people. It needs to be an indispensable part of the way people work on their presentations. And lastly, we can't just sit on our laurels and wait for these 6 to 10 pilots that are kind of starting to be in play. We need to ruthlessly generate new leads and just talk to more people, try to get more companies involved. And actually, I'd like to take this moment to ask you, our advisory board, that if you know of any organizations or any people who you think might benefit from Podium, and hopefully there's a good number of people out there. From conversations we've had, it seems like communications is a pretty important part of many businesses. Please let us know. Please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to them and see how the way they can use Podium. So this is definitely a lot to do, but we're actually very confident in the team we have to bring this forward and to make it happen. Sheng and Brian have proven to be phenomenal developers over the last few months, and myself and Laksh have reached out to over 100 L&D heads, professional speaking coaches, and other professionals within this space. So we're really excited to really make this a reality. Thank you.
So hi everyone, I'm Suhan Mao. I'm an electrical engineering student.
Hi, I'm Donghan Miao, and I'm a grad student, and I joined the team in April.
Hi, and I'm Julian Chang. I'm a part-time Master's of Engineering Management student, and during the day I manage a B2B web portal. And all the time I am a dad, and just like millions of parents around the nation, we want to provide opportunities for our kids to have fun and enrich their lives. But we spend hundreds of dollars a month on different activities, like sports, music, camps, and it's a lot of money. There are so many opportunities out there for kids that CNN and New York Times say that it's going to be several $1,000s a year, and the cost of summer alone for camps and childcare is over $16 billion. There's a lot of different classes. There's thousands just in the North Shore alone. And parents are having to flip through multiple program guides, schedules, websites, filling out different forms. It's a headache. Because they want to find the best classes that meet their schedule, that meet their budget, that are just going to entertain their kids. The second problem we want to address is that providers actually want to be found. They're spending hundreds of dollars on different advertising means, direct mail, web things, or web advertising, as well as different online guides. But they, a lot of times, don't spend the money effectively and may not bring anybody in the door. We want to essentially connect supply and demand by allowing parents and providers to more easily and quickly get together. So I'm going to show a little bit of a demo.
I'm a mom looking for a camp for my son Andrew. I heard about MentorHip on Facebook. The site looks awesome with great navigation and pictures. I can link by location on the map, filtered by distance from my home. I love that I can see details about different providers, class listings, prices. Some features I love about MentorHip are ratings to help me sort providers, category filters to help me focus on specifics, and calendars so I can see a schedule without additional clicks. After reviewing a few choices, I picked a sports camp for Andrew. That was quick and easy, and it sure beats flipping through multiple program guides. I enjoyed using MentorHip so much, I want to find a math tutor for my daughter Haley. After the camp ends, I go back to the site and rate the camp 5 stars. Same thing for the tutor. Thanks, MentorHip!
So we launched 3 weeks ago, and we've gotten overwhelmingly positive feedback from a lot of parents. We've connected 14 parents to different providers and developed those ongoing relationships. We specifically launched in the North Shore area, and we've gotten almost 800 unique visitors to the site, and we've gotten over 600 parents. So they're really excited. A lot of the time, they'll just say, hey, this site is awesome, but it really needs more providers. It needs more courses. You need more functionality. So they tell me to go back to my office and start working on that right away. Providers are really excited about it as well. All that content you guys saw, we developed a self-service model. All those providers can set up that within 5 minutes, all that scheduling and all those pictures and things like that. We even helped, we worked with the Bulls and Sox Academy, and we helped them sell out of one of their camps in the local area, and they have a 5-person waiting list now. We helped to automate the registration and the payment process for Young Chefs Academy, and we helped Hillary find some ongoing piano students. How we make money is through taking a percentage off of each transaction. We also have different levels of tiered providers. We have sponsored providers who could pay a little extra money and get higher visibility. We also have different offerings and special offers. And we're also working with some companies to have advertisements as well. We're working with a pediatric dentist as well as a place that provides sports equipment for kids. So this market is really big. There's 6.24 million families that fall within our demographics of making over $75,000 a year, and we specifically focused on the 124,000 in the North Shore area. And again, the CNN statistic there is about $2,000, $1,000 to $2,000 per child spent per year. The total addressable market size, just for the percentage alone, is pretty big, between $1.5 to $3.3 billion. And not only that, we haven't even factored in ads or sponsored providers there. So this is pretty big. And as a reference, you can see all the crazy stuff that my daughter is in. There's a couple of competitors in this space, but there's no clear national leader. We're looking at differentiating ourselves both around the specific providers as well as general, and then also having a high level of user engagement. So where we differentiate ourselves from the value to the parents is we're actually providing all types of data, not just the sponsored providers, but we've scraped data from over 3,000 providers in the Chicagoland area, and we're listing them. The reason we do that is because we want the parents to have the ability to not have to jump between different sites. Because the last thing we need is another type of marketplace that people are bouncing between. We don't want another Groupon type of thing for classes. We want one place that the parents can deeply engage in. The reason we list all those sites along with our sponsored providers is because we're building the functionality for a provider to quickly claim their listing. So we've listed them. A provider may hear about us from a parent that goes to their site or to their company, and hey, I found you on MentorHip. Oh, they go to the site, they claim their listing, and they can quickly convert from a listed provider to a sponsored provider. We also want to generate deeper levels of engagement. We don't just want to be a place where parents buy stuff, but we also want to have the ability for parents to see how their kids are doing in those classes, and we're going to be building that in the future. The second thing we want to do is also provide a lot of functionality for providers. So you heard Hillary talking about take lessons, and Wyzant is similar. These companies take 30 to 50% by just connecting parents and providers. A lot of these providers will build up their clientele through Take Lessons or Wyzant and then quickly go around them. We want to keep this thing sticky by providing a lot of functionality to the providers. So not only am I an engineer and a student, but as a hobby, my wife and I started Kumon Math and Reading Center. So we've owned this center for over 7 years. We've worked with over 1,000 students in this area, both from professors of Northwestern as well as doctors, lawyers, and other people in the community. They love this idea of MentorHip. We also work with other service providers in the community, and we've talked to them, and they said, yeah, something that I need is this back-end functionality around scheduling, payment, communication with parents, attendance tracking, marketing, things like that. And so we're starting small. We're starting, of course, with this marketplace, the scheduling and payment, but we want to build those back-end applications. I know the joys of working with kids. I also know the pains of running a business. And I feel that with our expertise, we can build that functionality to help these providers and keep them on our site and do it at a low cost. So we talked a little bit about the key differentiators. I won't rehash that. Again, for providers, what they really love is the agility to quickly go online. We've also seen some inklings of virality. We posted a job posting at a local high school, and we got over 100 hits and applicants in 1 hour. And we had to quickly build a vetting process in order to not just put stuff on the site, but for a review. So it's been pretty cool. Some of the techniques as well, we've worked with PTOs in running contests. We've posted job boards, worked with a local mom and dad. There's a savvydaddy.com and dad blogs. We've worked with but the main things that have really helped us a lot is partnering with neighborhood moms. They're the ones that know their neighborhood. They know the best providers, and they're the ones that tell the other moms, hey, this is a site you got to go on. We also work with our marquee providers. We basically work with 2 different providers in each city, and they're telling their clients about MentorHip. Hey, rate me highly on this blog. Tell your friends about this. And then we've also handed out flyers, which has been very effective. You can see we got 800 unique visitors, over 30,000 page views. Our bounce rate is really low, less than 1%. So people are going to our site and staying there. They're staying on an average of 8 minutes, and they're looking at 16 different providers or clicking around for 16 times. So it's been really exciting. And so our next steps, if I could get this working, is that, like I said, we want to more deeply engage with the parents. We want to also build that social component, tapping into the ability for parents to plan with friends or tell other people on Facebook about this. We also are addressing things like background checks as well as for security. I talked about provider solutions. We want to also expand to other areas such as 0 to 2 with the Mama and Me classes, as well as from 12 to 18 with the high-end tier 1 type of athletes like in the AAU. And then from there, we're going to bootstrap the site until we can raise $1 million in seed funding. We're also developing, we're getting other people from industry, and we've already recruited 2 people from the class to join our team. We're looking for you guys if you have any ideas or anybody who's interested in joining our advisory board. We'd love to hear your thoughts and where to take this next. So again, on behalf of Suhan Ma, Donghan Miao, and myself, we're MentorHip. Thank you.
All right, thanks for covering, everybody. We're Team Wedloom. We're helping brides streamline the wedding planning process. by connecting them with a local wedding planner. So planning a wedding is really hard. It's one of the biggest challenges that my wife and I had to go through as a new couple. And we knew what we were up against. We had to pick a venue, a caterer, a florist, entertainment, and a photographer by researching thousands of options and making sure it balanced with our style and our personal budget. We considered using a wedding planner. However, we really wanted to be in charge of the planning process, and we couldn't afford a $5,000 expense. After about a month, we realized we were way over our head. We were spending hours researching different things online and visiting multiple different venues. Here's a picture of my wife after our fourth venue on a Saturday. You can see we're completely exhausted. And the worst part was we realized only 1 out of the 4 places we visited was an actual potential venue that we could have picked that fit within our style and our budget. So I mean, looking back, we wish we really could have had some expert advice in our corner that would have handpicked the places that were right for us so that we could have gotten our weekends back, reducing stress and saving us a lot of time. We realized we're not alone. 80% of people getting married are not using a wedding planner, and for the same reasons as us. And that's why we created Wedloom, to focus on the brides that want to plan a lot of the wedding on their own, but they just need some extra help. So Wedloom allows brides to get extra help by talking to a wedding planner through online consultations. And this wedding planner is going to be local and an expert in that specific city that they're going to get married in. For example, I'm not alone, and the people that we talk to, that they would love the idea of having somebody find the pricing availability and the best options for them for venues, as well as coming up with a budget for them as well. So Wedloom works in 3 steps. First, the bride fills out a profile and helps us understand them and what their needs are. Second, the bride schedules an online consultation that fits their schedule, and they're able to do this from the convenience of their own home. And finally, the planners are able to collaborate with these brides through our platform and get things done. So why would a bride use Wedloom over a traditional wedding planner? A wedding planner offers a lot of great services: contract reviews, finding style, doing timeline planning as well. But talking to a lot of brides, we realized that brides have a lot of different needs, and each one is very different. So that's why we're thinking, can we offer a la carte services to meet those specific needs? That way, brides get what they want and only pay for what they need.
All right, so this is Lindsay. Lindsay's getting married in 6 months in Chicago, and she's on a pretty tight budget, so a full-time wedding planner is out of the question for her. She spent countless hours on the Knot, Wedding Wire, Pinterest, sites like this, trying to find venues and ideas for wedding decor. But there's so much information on these sites that it just becomes overwhelming, and it's very hard to equate generic inspiration photos with actual vendors in Chicago that she can book for her wedding. She's also spent hours on the phone talking with local venues and trying to get clear pricing information, but it's been a constant struggle. Luckily, a friend just told her about Wedloom. So with Wedloom, Lindsay can get exactly the help she needs without having to hire a full-time planner. Lindsay's particularly interested in getting recommendations for venues that are going to match her style and her budget, and getting pricing information so that she can compare her options side by side and make the right choice. So Lindsay schedules a free consultation with Carlene, a Wedloom coach, and a professional wedding planner in Chicago. Before a consultation, Lindsay can spend some time getting inspiration from photos of real weddings in Chicago. Unlike Pinterest, everything Lindsay sees in these photos is from real vendors that she could actually book for her own wedding. She's very drawn to this venue for its rustic and cozy vibe. And by adding this and other photos that she likes to a style profile, she can give Carlene a clear idea of exactly what her style is, so that when they connect over Skype, Carlene can jump right into providing personalized recommendations for vendors that are going to meet her style and her budget. So here's a clip of what their first consultation looks like.
I was checking out your wed loom and I noticed that your style is like that rustic, cozy vibe, and I think that the venue that you were looking at, which was the Orchard Farm Pavilion, I think it'd be perfect, but it might be too large for your wedding size. Are you still looking about 75 people?
Yeah, we've invited about 75 people and assume that about only 60 will show up.
I usually say that about 20 to 30% of the people you invite won't RSVP yes, so you can definitely plan for 60. And a more intimate space, I would steer you towards the Pullman Barn at the Botanic Garden, which is an absolutely gorgeous space.
Perfect. That's great to know. I would definitely check into them.
Yeah, so check those spaces out, and maybe on our next call we can kind of dive into what we could do for decor in those spaces and what you're working with your budget.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much for your help, Carlene.
So through these hourly consultations, Lindsay can continue to get exactly the help she needs by connecting with Carlene through Wedloom. And she can collaborate with Carlene through some basic tools that we're currently building out for them to collaborate on a timeline, budget, and stuff like that. So I'm going to pass this off to Josh, who's going to explain how this works as a business.
Great. So we launched the site around a month ago, and since then we've gotten over 800 unique visitors. We've been published in 2 wedding blogs, and we went to 3 wedding shows, including the last one, Wed Local, where we had our own booth and walked all over getting people to sign up and also getting feedback on the idea. Overwhelmingly, the feedback was positive. This is a quote from Erin, who we met at Wed Local, who was really excited about the idea that she could get help with the things she needs, but without having to pay for a full-on wedding planner, which she couldn't afford. So talking a little bit about the wedding planning landscape right now, there are some vendor listing sites like Wedding Wire and The Knot, which don't offer much in the way of personalized help, other than sort of community message boards. And then on the other side, you have the fragmented, somewhat archaic wedding planning industry, which is expensive, but a full-service offering, obviously. So we thought there was a lot of potential for something in the middle, especially leveraging the internet as other companies are doing in other verticals like fitness, fashion, et cetera. So we thought there was a huge potential for improving and for doing a similar thing in wedding planning. Right now, there's not too many competitors in the space. The only clear competitor we saw is another startup called Wednick, which started this year, that does something very similar. However, they don't have a local focus like we do, which we think differentiates us, and we think our user experience is strongly superior to what they have. So how will Wedloom make money? So we're still sort of building this out, but for now the plan is couples will pay $65 an hour to consult with a planner, and we will pay $50 to the planner in exchange for those consults. And the reason we're able to pay planners $50 an hour, which is lower than their traditional rate, is because we're actually solving some real problems for the planners. We've spoken to over 70 planners within a weekend. We're really excited about the idea of getting on Wedloom via a LinkedIn post we had. And we actually had to take it down because we had too much interest. But yeah, the key benefits the key problems we solve for them is bringing them additional customers without them having to market through wedding shows or writing blog posts. And the key thing that we're doing here is giving them the ability to create income during their spare hours. So if they have 3 or 5 hours during a week, it might not make sense for them to bring on another full-time client, but through Wedloom, they can fill these 3 to 5 hours and make $150, $200 extra dollars that they wouldn't have had. So that's great for them. Additionally, we're offering the ability to convert these customers into their own day of planning clients. Right now, wedding planners, a large part of what they do is day of services, logistics, coordinating with vendors. We're an online platform. We don't plan on offering this, but if it's something that the Wedloom customers want, our planners are able to serve it to them, and they're more than willing to give us a commission based off our conversations, which could be $300 per person potentially, which is a nice additional opportunity there. So the market size, roughly 2 million weddings per year. 1.6 million of these don't use a planner. If we take a conservative 5% of this, assuming the revenue model we mentioned before, that's $15 million per year just off those chats, not including the upselling commissions yet, as we still have to refine that further. So our next steps, we're continuing to enhance the site. figuring out how to convert the users, the signups we have now into paying customers, which is something we admittedly do need to work a little more on. Also in the long term, we don't just want to be a Skype platform. We want to be a closed loop solution where we have tools that planners can work with collaboratively with people planning. A budget optimizer, a timeline, and to-do list are some of the 3 things we've talked about. So we'd like to learn more about what people specifically need and then go forward and build those tools. And in the longer term, we'd like to expand beyond Chicago, but only once we can prove that it does work in this market. So we're a Wedloom. Quickly, the team is Eric and I, who are MBAs, Lindsay, who's a design student, Josh, who's our chief developer, and we did need a little wedding planning expertise on the team, so we brought on Carlene, who is a professional wedding planner in the Chicago area, and she's been super helpful. So we are Team Wedloom. Thank you.
So we are License Buddy, and we are disrupting continuing education for licensed professionals. So put yourself in the shoes of Jeremy. When he first finished his CPA license, he was really excited to start his career, start on his new path, and then all of a sudden he realized that he needed to do continuing education. Knowing nothing about this process, he went out to the Ohio State Board for CPAs and was approached with something like this. These typically go on for pages, and it's been explained to us as reading through a terms of service with your career hanging in the balance. So he has to go through the process, and he parses through hundreds of pages of rules and regulations to find the 5 paragraphs that relate to his specific instance and the specific rules that he needs to figure out. After doing so, he goes to Google, and he's approached with all of these different course providers vying for his business. He has no knowledge of the quality of these courses, whether or not these courses are actually accredited in his jurisdictions, and more specifically, whether or not they meet the specific needs he has. But again, he crosses his fingers, he throws some darts, and he ends up with a bunch of courses. And in the end of the day, he's left with a folder of certificates, hoping he won't get audited, hoping that he's reached his progress, and hoping that he did the entire process correctly. But what if he had a platform to do it all in one place, a platform that parsed his needs and presented to him only what he needs and when he needs it? And that's exactly why we created License Buddy. License Buddy is an integrated platform that brings it all together. When you first go onto License Buddy, you queue in what your specialization is and in what state is your primary jurisdiction. Go back. You're presented after some basic analysis. Not yet.
There's some timing issues going on right now.
Yeah. So you're presenting. You are not presented with any questions because we already know who you are. So we get your customized dashboard, and your dashboard has your specific instances of problems in terms of the progress that you need to make and the specific. Oh, that was no good, huh? I'll put this down altogether. So you're presented with specifically what your progress requirements are, and we present you with a course recommendation engine that specializes the course catalog that we have to your specific needs. Jeremy likes it because we tell him exactly what he needs to do and when he needs to do it by. Employers like it because we can track their employees like Jeremy without having them to do a really active process with those employees. And most importantly, course providers really like it because we're presenting their courses to the end user when the user actually needs it at the time of actual purchase. So let's go through the process that Jeremy goes through if he wants to take a course outside of our ecosystem, which we permit him to do. So he goes out, he realizes he's not totally fulfilled his professional standards and responsibilities. He takes an ethics course, and he wants to upload it to his customized dashboard. So he clicks Add a Course. He's taken to a little modal that actually asks him some information about the course that he took. Once he specializes in the information that he gives, and if he took a course through our platform, this would have already been done for him. He clicks Save, and his progress is updated. But what happens especially unique to our product, that when you update your progress, you also update your course recommendation engine. So we're tailoring your products not just to your jurisdictions, but also to the position in the cycle that you currently are. But Jeremy's not alone. There are currently over 700,000 active CPAs in the US, with an average annual spend of about $800 on continuing education. This creates an addressable submarket of $560 million. We find this to be particularly opportunistic because we've been seeing extremely high commission rates on the side of course providers in terms of what they're willing to give us if we actually make a sale for them. But we're not creating a platform just for the CPAs of the world. We're creating a platform for the 8+ million licensed professionals in the United States who have been identified by the LBS as the quickest growing subclass of occupations in the US. As we move away from an agriculture and manufacturing economy, a licensed professional becomes the key position towards a stable middle-class job. This currently has an annual average spend of $5 billion. So how do we position ourselves in the market, and how do we start in the CPA market specifically? So our main competitors right now show you what they like to call advanced search, which allows you to input your information and very actively seek out the discovery process. The issue with education online is not a content issue, it's a discovery issue. It's whether or not you can find the content that you need that is specifically meeting your specific needs, especially when it comes to accredited courses. So let's play you through some of the specific economics of the CPA space. We find this to be a really good spot to start, one, because of our domain expertise, and secondly, because of a lot of the market vetting that we did. We started with a landing page that allowed any licensed professional at all to cue in what licensed professional they are, and then where their jurisdiction is, and we kind of followed that demand-first mentality. We saw a pretty good upshot in the CPA reaction, so we started there, based on, as well with the other advantages that we felt we had in the space. But what's particularly great for it is the user lifetime value of over $800. It costs us around $40 currently to acquire a user through paid means. We're obviously optimizing that, and that's why we have various landing pages that are vertical specific. So we have a landing page for lawyers, and then within the CPA space, which we hope to be our early adopters, we're aiming at not just the CPA, but the CPA with adjunct certifications, things like a CMA, CIA, CFA, et cetera, who have so many jurisdictions to manage and so many different certificates that it becomes quite a hassle for them. So we created 50 different pages for the 50 different states describing the different requirements to try to feed them into our cycle both organically and to optimize our SEM strategy. We've also recently been going through channel partnerships. So in those channel partnerships, we've been trying to go directly to firms because we see that firms right now are being charged a pretty large fee from the standpoint of an enterprise perspective to get this software to manage it. And that software doesn't really quite meet their needs because it's not providing them a marketplace opportunity for all the course providers to vie for them. Once someone gets in the firm, like Thomson Reuters, our main competitor, what they try to do is market exclusively their content to the end users. But obviously this is not the best system because it creates certain inefficiencies within it. So that's where we started about 20 weeks ago in terms of launch and where we are today. We have about 500 users who have uploaded 700 course hours. We just got in the door to pilot a study with a CPA firm in New York with about 75 CPAs. And we're in talks with adding on a few more firms. We're trying to get some specific key partner channel partners to also get us to the end user because our biggest adopter is the individual practitioner, but obviously that's quite expensive to get to. So let's look at the competitive landscape. The competitive landscape breaks down into really 3 different types. First, you have ad hoc solutions. This is things like Excel plus Dropbox. You know, everyone seems to have this folder, and everyone seems to be tracking things on Excel to keep up with their progress, but they're kind of creating this ad hoc solution. Then you have course providers who specifically give a tracker, but only for the course provider if you take the courses with them. So it's not really meeting their needs once again because it's not really tracking all of their information. And most importantly, that's based on their employer. So when they leave a firm and join another, it doesn't translate through with them. So they don't keep their institutionalized knowledge, and this creates quite an issue for them. And it also creates an issue for the employer who needs to do that process of at least downloading the knowledge and in their send-off procedure kind of hand it over to the user who then has this like file format that they have nothing to do with. Then we have larger competitors like Thomson Reuters. They have around 40% market share, it seems. Their solution is similar but not the same as ours in the sense that they try to source out a lot of their content to universities, and they have a very rudimentary version of what our tracking system has, but it doesn't quite get there. They're also charging an enterprise level rate to get it to firms, whereas we are undercutting them by giving our software for free to firms and then making money off the marketplace that we provide. So that gets down to the point why we are fundamentally different in this market. We entered the market to defend the licensed professional for the end user himself. We don't have the incentive structures that an individual provider has, and we don't have the incentive structures that an individual employer has. All we have is our incentives aligned with the end user. We want to provide them courses that they want to take because obviously we want to increase the chance that they purchase. So by staying with the end user, we've been able to modernize a system that for them has not changed in 20 years. They have the same enterprise software that they always had, and they have the same folder that they always had, and now we're trying to update it into a sector of continuing education that hasn't been directly addressed. And we have a really great team to do so. So the team in the class was myself, Jonathan Friedman, who was originally the technical TA, but we poached him off that role. We had Jeremy, who is an MBA student and was a CPA. And then we had Brenda and Josh has a technical background. And then, sorry, we're going to run a little bit over. We're really excited to have been accepted into the Dream It program. This gives us the opportunity to focus full time and try to vet out the CPA market as much as we can. Once we get the product market fit done as key and as well as we can, we're then going to try to expand horizontally. And we're really excited by this opportunity. The last team from Northwestern to go through Dream It just raised a 10 million Series B round adaptly, and we're trying to follow in that path as well. The team structure has changed slightly because other people have commitments and stuff, but continuing on with the team is Jonathan Friedman and I, and we have extensive experience working together, and we've acquired some really awesome talent in terms of interns. One of our interns is back there. He's a junior economics, and we got, through a loophole, someone we're really excited about, an international student who's actually an MBA student at NYU to work with us. So we're really excited about that.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. This is Patrick. This is Yi. We're Confer, and we want to get people talking. To do this, we've created a simple networking platform for conferences, trade shows, and other professional events. And though we've only pivoted to this idea a month and a half ago, we already have 5 companies that have done an event with us and 2 paying customers. So let's say I'm going to an entrepreneurship conference. I walk into this room I paid a lot of money to be in. I see a bunch of people, and the only thing I know about them is that they're interested in entrepreneurship and they're better dressed than me. I came here to talk to people, but if I want to do that, I pretty much have 2 options. Stand here like an idiot and hope someone notices me, or awkwardly approach a group of complete strangers and hope that one of them is the contact I came here to find. More likely than not, I'm just not going to make that contact. If I'm an event organizer, I know that if my customers are not having the conversations they came here to have, they're not going to come back. And every person that doesn't come back next year is one less person for everyone else to talk to, and one less lead for every sponsor and exhibitor that's really funding this event. To help alleviate some of these problems, we've created Confer, a simple and inexpensive way for event organizers to show their attendees what they have in common with each other and get in touch. So let's say I'm a budding young entrepreneur and I'm going to the New Vention Web pitch event. I receive an email from the event organizer with a link to the event on Confer that I can join. I click it, and once it goes through, it'll log in through LinkedIn and that stuff. So I want to meet as many people as I can, but I'm really interested in finding someone in venture capital to help me fund my business. I come to the event page, and it gives me a great visual breakdown of everyone else who's going to be here. I get to see what we have in common. I get to put a name to a face, and it gives me an icebreaker in hand if I want to approach anyone at the event. But again, what I really came here for was to find someone to help me fund my business. So I search for venture. And I get a list of people sorted by their similarity to me who are relevant to that topic. I click the first name, Brett Maxwell, and I see that not only are we an alumnus of the same school, but we are also based in the same city. So I take a further look at his LinkedIn profile. I see that he has a lot of experience in venture capital, that he's been recommended a lot, and that he has these 63 venture capital endorsements, and figure he's a great person to do business with. So I go back to Confer, I send him a message, and hopefully I take the first steps in starting a long and productive business relationship. In the near future, we'll be able to provide conference organizers with analytics about what kinds of people are at their event, how they're interacting, and a new venue for their sponsors and exhibitors to reach the attendees that they're paying to reach.
So looking at the competitive landscape, we saw it was a crowded space. We were able to segment the market by 2 factors. First, on the horizontal axis, we have the price from affordability to expensive. And then on the vertical axis, we looked at whether they were going to be an all-in-one conference app or we're just focused on the networking part. We figured there was a great opportunity down in the lower left quadrant with affordable and just networking space. Right now, the main competitor there is Shortlist, who's another Chicago startup who I had the pleasure of speaking with on the phone the other day, and he validated that there is an opportunity there for a simple networking-focused app. But as far as we know, we are the only one who does the matching in terms of the education and employment history, so you have the icebreaker to meet people with conferences. Next slide. Looking at the pricing model, we decided to price it based on the number of attendees. We figured there's greater benefit the more attendees that are there. Right now, it goes range from all the way from free up to $800. And as you can see, it's a lot more affordable than some of the other conference apps out there. Some of them go as much as a couple $1,000s. We originally had a lower price point than this, and we were told, why do you guys price so low? So we're still adjusting the model and optimizing it as we work with customers. Next slide. We were able to do some customer acquisition early on. First was through an email campaign through Eventbrite. They have a contact the organizer button. We hired a part-time employee. She sent out 20 emails, worked 2 hours on that. We were able to get one conference out of there, so a 5% conversion rate. That would be a $30 customer acquisition to get a conference that was in the $99 price point. We also received a paying conference through referral. He was at a conference. That one was free, but we're considering to incentivize that through adding a fee for referral if people refer to us. So from 2 conferences for $30 price, we were at $15 customer acquisition. Next slide. So the revenue potential of this market is it's 1.8 million professional events are held each year in America. And with our $20 average revenue, we can have a 10% market share with a $30 million annual revenue. And looking at the global events industry space, there's a $500 billion spend there. So it is a huge market potential that we can go after and have a small piece of. Some of the risks that we've identified is if LinkedIn sees what we're doing and likes it and makes kind of this simple, easy app and copies us for free or low cost, or Eventbrite, or Bizibo, or any of the other competitors could copy the idea if it catches on. But what we're most proud of is the progress we've had so far. Alex touched on it a bit. Last quarter, we were Critics Like Me. Late in this, beginning of this month, this year, pivoted to Confer, and within 2 weeks, the team was able to put out a product. We were the first team to launch out of all of Nuvention Web. We have 5 conferences that have used it so far, and we have another one on the docket. 2 of them have been paid conferences, and we were charging $79 at that point. Just some other metrics, we had 2,648 page views, 250 registered users, and 61 messages sent. And I know a few of you have used the tool here, so I appreciate everybody that went on. Just a quick story, I've been at Kellogg for 2 years, and I've been trying to do a lot of startups, and this is the first one that I've done that's really taken on. So the team, we've discussed this, and we want to continue into the summer. I'm starting in September, and I know we have other full-time employment, but we're going to bootstrap the product and see if we can get some more traction with this. So what we ask of you, the advisory board, is while you're here, whether you've signed into the app or not, we would love feedback. We would love any suggestions or any comments that you have. But also, in addition, we would love it if you guys have any connections with professional associations or conference planners. We think there's a great opportunity to partner with professional associations to get continual usage of the tool. So we are Team Confer. We're happy to be here, and we look forward to your questions. Thank you.